Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive live in studio, Partnership for New York City President and CEO, Kathryn Wylde. Kathryn, let's just start with that question. You know Mamdani. You obviously have reached out. When was the last time you spoke with him, and how close is he to presenting a plan that could fix affordability?
Well, I spoke with him on Friday. I said, well, I haven't heard from you since the election. And he said, I said, have you ghosted me? And he said, my parents asked me the same question. So I think he's got a few things to do. But they are on the case on affordability, and this is someplace where we're very glad to see his focus because, as you pointed out, this is a national problem, and it's a combination of financial insecurity and increasing costs. And the business community in New York City, Wall Street, is very willing to work with him on both the housing and the child care challenges of affordability that have made our city the most expensive in America and one of the most expensive in the world.
But Kathryn, are his plans workable? And what are his plans? How does he plan to do this? Is he speaking with the big real estate magnates and the medium-sized ones, the ones who build homes that hopefully could be affordable?
Those conversations began after the primary, when he won the Democratic primary in New York. And in fact, yes, he is speaking and he's listening. I mean, for example, when he speaks about freezing the rent, I had a conversation with him last spring. I said, you can't freeze the rent unless you freeze the costs. And now a major part of his platform is property tax reform to reduce the 35% property tax burden on regulated rental housing. So he's listening, and I think his positions are becoming more and more practical.
Well, those costs are something like 30% of the rent nut that people pay. It goes to insurance, things like that.
Yes.
Is that part of the issue?
Absolutely. That's another issue that he is willing to address. And thankfully, you know, ironically, the constituency that elected him, that came out to vote for him, does not include a lot of the special interests that have kept those costs so high. So we're hoping we'll see a change in insurance costs, and we're talking to the governor about this same issue to make those more affordable. New York's costs are 15% more than the rest of the country. When it comes to auto insurance, we're 52% higher than the rest of the country. So we've got a long ways to go in New York. A lot of this is driven by litigation, staged claims, false insurance claims, and we've got an opportunity to reduce those costs.
So he wants to bring down property taxes. That would be lovely. However, I'm glad you just invoked Kathy Hochul's name, the governor. Kathy Hochul is considering raising the corporate tax rate in order to pay for all the free things that Mayor-elect Mamdani would like to institute, whether it's free buses, transportation, and all of that. New York State's corporate tax rate is already at 7.25%. It could be raised to 11.5%, but that matches New Jersey's rate. However, when you take into account what New York City corporate tax rate of 8.8%, that would mean a combined effective tax rate of something like 19% for businesses. No wonder.
And don't forget the payroll mobility tax and the mortgage transfer tax and all the other taxes. Yes, we have the highest tax city in the country, absolutely. And what we've seen over the last decade, as taxes have gone up, that has contributed to the affordability crisis.
Well, no wonder New Hampshire Governor Kelly Ayotte is rolling around billboard trucks saying, hey, Manhattan, everybody move your businesses to New Hampshire. We don't have onerous taxes. Anybody moving to New Hampshire, are you hearing this? You represent all the big financials. You know,
this is not a tidal wave
person.
But we have to bring down housing costs to start with. For example, it now costs over $1 million to buy a home in either Manhattan or Brooklyn. And the other boroughs, it's almost as high. We have the highest costs of child care, $26,000 per child at a minimum to be able to, for somebody to be able to work. So we have to deal with all these costs, and I think it's great that Mayor-elect Mamdani has focused on this, but it is not a solution that is, there is not a solution in further raising government spending. That's what got us into this mess. Thinking government can solve all these problems alone is the wrong way to look at this. The only way we're going to solve these problems is through smart private investment, smart reduction in the costs of government, making government more efficient, which again, the business community has the expertise and the management skills to help the new mayor with. So what we're hoping is that we'll see him partner with the business community to be able to accomplish his goals, but to do it without raising taxes.
We didn't even get to the public safety issue, but we had a police officer here in the city shot. And Jessica Tisch, who was the police commissioner, was giving an update today about his recovery prospects. And that's the big question. She gets flying color remarks from everybody. People are very happy with the changes she's made. New York feels safer now. Is he going to keep her? Has Mayor Mamdani said anything about whether she can stay?
Absolutely. He has said that he will ask her to stay. He will try to keep her. Now, that's going to be a conversation between Jessie Tisch, the commissioner, and the mayor. I am certainly hopeful, and the business community has told Mayor-elect Mamdani this is a #1 priority. If we're not safe, then we're not going to get the talent here that will keep New York the greatest center of business in the world.
Please tell him that, because we've heard things where he didn't like the police. Anyway, he's backtracked on some of that, but please come back, Kathy. We can't wait to see the plans.
We can't either.